Today, we're going to be checking out Invision Studio for Windows. Before we begin, I wanted to mention this video's sponsor, Skillshare.com, which is an online learning community for creators with over 25,000 classes in design, business, and more. So whether you want to fuel your curiosity, your creativity, or even your career, Skillshare is the perfect place to do just that. For instance, you're about to watch my Invision Studio tutorial, but you could watch this full Invision Studio course at Skillshare. Skillshare is also super affordable with an annual subscription of being less than $10 a month. But if you're one of the first 500 people to click on the link here in the description in YouTube, then you get the first 2 months 100% free. So join up. Hey everyone, what's up? Gary Simon of CourseCentral.com. So I've always wanted to try out Invision Studio, but of course being a Windows guy, I was not able to. But just earlier this month, around April 4th, I believe, they released the Windows version of Invision Studio. So of course, you know, I'm going to check it out. So in doing so, we're just going to build this simple layout for a fictional cryptocurrency project. And in doing so, we'll learn about a lot of the tools and the features here of Invision Studio, some that I like and some that I don't like. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and just learn by doing. All right, so make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's get started. All right, so I am here with the open panel of Invision Studio, or the panel that shows up when you first load it. And usually I'm doing either desktop or mobile. This time I'm going to change it up and just do, we're going to start with tablet just for the heck of it. All right, so just to move around real quickly, of course you can pan by holding spacebar, left clicking and dragging. To zoom in and out, it's a little bit different than a lot of apps where we use Alt in the scroll wheel. That really doesn't do anything except just use the scroll wheel to go up and down. But to zoom in and out, you hold Control and your mouse scroll wheel. All right, so let's just get started here by giving this a background. So you want to select the main artboard here. And whenever you select an object or anything, you have your options panel over here, pretty standard for most modern design apps. And we can see we have a background section right here from which we can hit plus to add a background. You can see you can add multiple backgrounds to do interesting things here, but we don't want to do that. So we just want to make a flat background. We're going to choose a blue area right here. By the way, you can see you can add gradients, you can add radial gradients, and for the artboard background specifically, you can add an image fill as well for an image-based background. So if we come down here, we want it to be more in a desaturated, kind of in mid-desaturated section or so, maybe a little bit more desaturated, right around there. So if you're following along, it's 2A2D3E for the hex code from which you can specify right there. Now also, we can see we have under here, by default, it's probably set at global colors if you're first checking out this app. If you choose document colors, it'll just add any new swatches that are specific to this document alone, which is probably what you want to do, not just global colors, because that will be applicable to any project you ever open, which wouldn't really make sense. So document colors, you can add that right here by clicking the plus sign. All right, so for this app, we're just going to do a fictional app, like a cryptocurrency app, like a personal portfolio. Cryptocurrency, all the rage these days. So how can we add a shape? All right, so if you come up here, you can see this plus sign. We'll see insert layer, and you have your object. So you can put in an artboard, a rectangle, rounded rectangle, oval, path, text, and image. Very basic. I kind of wish that there was a way for you just to have like a toolbar where it lists all these out by default instead of requiring me to click here. Of course, you can remember the keyboard shortcuts from which you wouldn't have to do that, but still having those added would be nice. I really didn't see anywhere where you could go and change the layout to where it would show those by default. But either way, I want to add a rectangle. So I'm just going to left click and drag somewhere right around here, about 2/3 or 1/3 of the height. And we could see here that it selects it by default, and we have a number of options in the properties section over here. So you have your X and Y for your positional locations there. You have your width and height, a rotation option. You could flip horizontal and vertical. This for when you resize the document or certain areas that might be inside of this container. You can choose where these are anchored from left, right, top, and bottom. Also, we can see we have blend modes here. We have these that are available. Opacity, we have border radius, so we can change that. Fills, again, we can add multiple fills, borders, shadows, inner shadows, and interactions down here. Here, I just want to make a solid, simple color, so we're going to change that right here. First, we're going to grab this color. We're going to make it something lighter and more saturated. Probably, yeah, maybe we'll drag it right around there. So that's 4271FF. All right. Let's add that as well to the document colors. And for this next part, I definitely want to have like the very, very top toolbar where it shows the Wi-Fi icon and the current date and the battery status and all that stuff. So instead of designing that from scratch, I found a result on Dribbble where somebody already made that stuff for us. All right, and here it is. So we can see here Invision Studio iOS template. I'm going to try to remember to link this URL in the YouTube description so you don't have to sit there typing it out and pausing. You can just download the file from here. And we'll choose the studio and download, direct download. And once it's done, it'll open it up in a new instance of Invision Studio app, which is nice. And momentarily, as it's opening the document, we can control and mouse scroll wheel to get this group right here at the top. So we'll copy that, Control C, come back here, Control V, and we'll get this positioned in the center. Use your mouse keyboard arrows to get it lined up. Let's zoom in a little bit with Control mouse wheel. And I'm gonna, this is a group as you can see. As you can see, that all your layers are right here. And this is a group. So to gain access to something inside by clicking, you double click. And then we also want this piece right here. And we'll hold Shift left click. And then just hold Shift and then just drag it over to where there's a little bit of margin or white space on the right side. And then same thing over here. Take these two, put them around the same area right there. Now I also want to have kind of like a bar that contains all of these at a slightly different color here. So Control D on this layer will duplicate it. And we just drag this up right around there. Take the fill. And I think we'll just make it slightly darker. Right around there. That's 305DE6. We'll add that to our swatches as well. And then we'll take this finally, make sure it's aligned vertically in the center. Right there. All right. So far, so good. So now let's go ahead and put like the name of the app. So the type tool, which you would assume to quickly gain access to through a shortcut, is T. It's also accessible by clicking up on that plus. We'll just type in Cryptfolio or something. I guarantee you there's probably something called Cryptfolio because that's it's a name that came right to me. And there's so many humans and they're all doing similar things, unfortunately. So as you would expect, if you follow me along, it remembers your last used font from any other previous project. And I do, of course, have Montserrat as my chosen font here. So we're going to make this one bold, though. And we're going to increase the size. So initially, when I clicked in here, I wanted to left click and drag up in the text area where it says 27 for the size. And I was mad because I wanted that feature to be able to quickly do that. But instead of doing that here in Invision Studio, you simply hover over the label instead, and you can increase the size that way without having to manually type in the value. So I think right around 36 will be good. So you can see we have all these other, properties that are specific to, this option here, to this type layer rather. So Control D will replicate it, put it to the right, and I think right here we'll just put in like 14,301.33 cents. Now we'll assume that that's the fictional value of this person's cryptocurrency portfolio. We'll change this to regular. All right, and we'll move it over. And again, this is probably where you would want to use the toggle part. So we want to anchor this to the right section, top right of the page. And next, let's have like a little panel here. And this time it'll be a rounded rectangle. So we'll choose that. And we'll just come down there. Looks like garbage with a default gray color. So let's click that and change it. We'll get the eyedropper tool. We'll choose this, and then we'll come up and make it slightly lighter. Not much lighter, just barely. just so you can see a difference between this, and this contrast as well, of course, from this background. We can also add that as a swatch as well. So inside of here, we'll just have like a bar graph. All right, so initially, I think we'll take this. We'll have a label inside of here. Ooh, what happened there? So we could just drag this up above, or we could right click and move to front like that. And this one, we're going to say last 30 days. My backspace key is not working. All right, not working well at least. So now you can hit escape just to go to select mode, and we'll take the size down quite a bit. Right around there is good. What is that? Size 11. Now we're going to have, let's see here. We're going to use the path, and we're going to create a vertical line holding shift and shift right there. Hit escape, and you're going to see that we're in edit mode. We're edit path mode. You can still edit the anchor points, move them around, add anchor points right here with the pen tool. But if you hit escape again, you get out of that mode, and then you gain access to all your properties like the border. So I want the border to stay around the same, but the color needs to be adjusted. So look at the eyedropper tool, choose the current background, and then just make it slightly lighter, which is 454B68. All right. Okay. So now the next part that I was kind of frustrated. I want a bunch of these, like maybe 30 of these to represent one day for 30 days. And I was looking for a repeat grid tool, and because I'm very used to Adobe Experience Design or Adobe XD, and they have a nice repeat grid tool where you select an element, click repeat grid, and just drag it out, and then you can adjust the spacing and the number of copies and all that. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Invision Studio has that. I know Sketch has something like that, but this doesn't, unfortunately. So if I'm wrong about that, please let me know in the comments. But the quickest way I can figure out doing this is the old school way. To do in Photoshop, Control D, which is going to duplicate it. And I'll just put this right around there. Hold Shift, take these two, Control D, duplicate it. And one thing that was also unfortunate, there was no indicators letting me know that like the space between these two is being consistent between each one of these when you duplicate them from the previous object. So I don't even think these four are consistent. Like I have to push that one over, take those four, replicate them. There has to be an easier way. But unfortunately, this is the only way that I know how to do it. So if that is the case, this is definitely a downfall for this application when we're comparing it. I'm going to group those, Control G, by the way, when we're comparing it with other tools like Adobe XD that does have the repeat grid tool. But again, if you really know the Invision Studio well, or if you're even a part of the team, then definitely correct me in the comments, and I will make a sticky out of it. So I'm just going to take these both and replicate them, move them over. Then this one, we'll right click, we'll ungroup it, and then just get rid of these few that we need to. So we have about an even, oh, well, it's almost equal. There's a little bit less here compared to there. So what I'll do is take everything right here, hit Shift and left click to deselect that, and then we'll just drag these in. So there's about an equal amount of white space on the left and right. Okay, so that looks good. Now, I'll take all of those, by the way, even those other groups. Control G just to create one group. You can double click in here to change the name. We'll just call this chart lines or something. Oh my God, it's like SpongeBob text right there, chart lines. All right, so now we'll take the pen tool, and I'm going to really quickly create just like a Bezier curve. Every 4 columns, out 2, we'll drag it out a Bezier curve. So you left click and you keep the left click mouse button clicked so that you can create these Bezier curves. And there we go. So now hit escape twice, and we'll get our weight up to, we'll say 5, and let's zoom out here to see what we have so far. Let's change a linear gradient for the stroke. So we choose the first color here, and we'll make this maybe more like in the purple area. We'll take the other color right here. All right, so they're very, this is like a lighter pinkish, and this is more of a darker purple. That's good right there. And then we'll go ahead and add a shadow. So we click the plus button, and we have X, Y, and blur. So the Y value, I think I want it to be like 5. No, like 8. All right, and then we can change the opacity by dragging this lower option right here. So I'm going to drag it less opacity right there. That looks good to me. All right, so one thing, if we want, look at the end caps, for instance. If we zoom up, they don't look good. We select it, and then we choose right here, rounded. But look at that. This isn't some strange issue I noticed before. It's applying the end caps in the opposite direction. So if I'm doing that wrong, let me know, but it should be more, you know, intuitive from the start, whatever. At this point, I've demonstrated enough of the creation tools and the properties that I'm just going to focus on creating a very quick skeleton layout for this user interface, because a lot of this part's going to become redundant. So real quickly, I'll have a rounded rectangle. This will represent some other data perhaps that's down there. We'll take the eyedropper. We'll come and make it a little bit, we'll make it darker. Actually, we'll just use the background color swatch right there. All right, and then we'll go ahead and take this, we'll duplicate it, Control D, maybe make this one smaller, and then move this one over here. That looks good. Maybe down here, we're gonna have a sub-label or another section like your currencies. We'll make this smaller, right around there. We'll take this and just duplicate it, Control D, make it somewhere around here. We'll also put in an oval. This is just gonna be like a fictional currency coin again, but it's gonna be just, you know, this boring skeleton version. All right, so we'll add that to the swatches as well. We'll take this, and now just to demonstrate another feature, they have this in Adobe XD and other apps as well. We're gonna take both of these and we're going to click this option, create component. So we'll name it, we'll just call this currency card. Hit done, and it's gonna open up what looks to be a new document, but it's not. You can see it has done here, and this just allows you to make changes to it specifically if you wish, and hit done. So now we can duplicate this, Control D, move it over, Control D, move it over. I'm gonna take all three, scale them down just a bit, Control D, we'll move that over as well, because I kind of want them to be off the side. All right, so now, like for instance, if you wanted to make a change to one of these and you want them to reflect across all the other ones, we simply select it rather, and we choose Edit Master, and then we can make a change, like we can make this maybe stand out a little bit more, hit done, and now it's applied to all of them. So that's the value, especially when you have multiple artboards using the same component, then it'll update across all of them. All right, outside of that, I think what we'll do is just put one more element for like a footer of some sort. It's gonna be kind of empty down here. I'm not too concerned about it, and we will go ahead and make this one darker. And for the hell of it, we'll take these two, duplicate them, right click though, move to front and put them here. We'll make these bigger, line them up to the left, push this one over here. We'll make this one longer just to make it look different from the other ones. And then select those three, and maybe we'll just take the opacity down. There. All right, there's nothing else here, I know. Tough, whatever. Okay, so now you basically have a decent knowledge of how to work with the creation tools here. Let's talk about making and adding some interactions and see how Invision Studio works with animations and things like that. So at this point in time, it would be a good idea to save your document. All right, so let's go ahead and duplicate this artboard. So you select the artboard, Control D will duplicate it, just creates an exact copy to the right of it, just like it does in XD. And now let's say, for instance, you wanted to add some sort of like micro interaction, like a hover based interaction. You hover over something and perhaps it changes color or something like that. We'll say, for instance, this panel. Let's say if we hover over this panel, we want it to change a color. All right, so how will we do that? All right, so we select it, and we can see over here we have interactions. Now I could see I am sitting on top of, my face is kind of on top of this section right here. So let me just get this right over here to where I'm not overlaid, okay? And we can see when we do that, we have some options right here. So we have a trigger. Now the trigger can be, there's a bunch of nice triggers they've added here, like a click, a hold click, a double click, a mouse down, mouse up, mouse over, mouse out. At this point in time, I believe Adobe XD does not have mouse over and mouse out. So that's an addition here. You can also drag up, drag down, drag left, drag right. And we'll do that for kind of like a carousel effect over here. So for us, we're just going to do a mouse over. So on mouse over, what should we do? Well, you're just going to navigate to an artboard. We'll say artboard 2, which is right here. And then we could also choose a preset transition, or we could do motion. I think that's what we're going to do. It's just going to do you can specify the duration and a delay right here. You can even edit a timeline for more advanced options here. So I guess the one thing that would change here is we'll change it to the hover state color. So we'll take this, and I think maybe we'll make it darker. There we go. We'll add that to the document colors too. And now if we go ahead and we choose play, and it's going on my other monitor, we hover over, and there we go. We have a nice transition. But if we hover off, it doesn't work either. So what do we do about that? Well, we'll take this, and we're going to add the same thing. So we're going to add the interaction of mouse over, no, mouse out rather. Go back to artboard 1, motion, leave it the same, and hit play. And there we go. Very, very cool. So how would we, for instance, make it so that we could drag this like a little carousel? They don't have actual carousel support specifically yet, but we can still make it work. All right, so what we'll do additionally is we will duplicate this artboard, the very first one. So now we have 3. I'm going to move this right here. All right, and when somebody clicks and drags, let's say this middle one, then we are going to add an interaction. It's going to be a drag, let's see, drag left. So we can reveal this over here. And then we will choose artboard 3, and it'll be motion. I think, no, maybe just preset. We'll see how that works. And then right here, we'll take all 4 of these and just kind of move them over. One second, let's get closer here. You want to make sure when you're making adjustments, especially if things are going off of the canvas, that it stays in this artboard 3 right here, or the current artboard. I think that's good right there. All right, so then let's go ahead and hit play just for now. So that is not working how I wanted it to. So let's go back here and choose motion, and we'll see if that updates anything. All right, so it kind of does simulate it a bit. So what we could do is take this one here. We'll do the interaction, the same thing. We'll go back to artboard 1, motion, and let's try that again. And I didn't do this right, so this is drag right. There we go. Come on, Gary, get on your game here. There we go. There. So it does pretty much behave like a carousel would, as you would expect. All right, very cool. So now let's do it so that we actually create a separate layout, a very quick version, an abbreviated version of a layout. So what I'll do is we will take this artboard, Control D to duplicate it, come down over here, and I will very quickly make a bunch of adjustments. So we're going to delete a bunch of stuff. Delete that, this right here. Oops, not that one, just the label. We're going to bring this container up right around there, move this over. We're going to go ahead and use the path tool to create a back button, like a triangle. I'm trying to eyeball this. Let's go ahead and exit that and then choose white. No, we want to fill, so we'll choose white. Wow, I actually did that like a pretty perfect back button. I surprised myself. All right, we'll get rid of these. We'll get rid of your current. Wait, no, we'll leave it there. I'm going to leave this right here. Move this up and then just scale it out like that. There. So now if somebody clicks on this, so we can add multiple interactions. Somebody clicks on it, we'll have a click-based trigger, and we'll move it to artboard 4, which is right here, and we will choose motion, and this time we're going to give it a second, no delay, to transition the all the elements, because there's lots going to happen here. While we're here, we're going to take this little back button, and we're going to add the interaction. Simply click to go back to artboard 1 at motion and 1 second. Let's try it out and save it. Hit play. All right, we got a little hover there. This works. Click it. Let's go back. All right, very cool. Probably not, the ideal scenario for transitioning to that sort of that layout, but nonetheless, it does work. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed that and learned something new. Definitely let me know in the comments what you think. Are you a Figma user? Are you an Adobe XD user? Do you use Invision Studio or perhaps something else? All right, I'll see you guys soon. Make sure to subscribe.